Hi, I'm Freddie Woodward, and welcome to Dive Beyond Sport.
And I'm Yona Wisdom. In each episode, we speak to athletes to discover their identity, value, and excellence. Dive. This isn't about the medals, results, or records. It's about the people behind the performance. Today's guest has won a full house of Olympic medals. Silver in Rio, bronze in Tokyo, and the historic and, quite frankly, incredibly dramatic gold in Paris. It's trampolining trailblazer, Bryony Page. Bryony, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
We're so glad to have you here. So yeah, thank you, Bryony. I just want to start, Bryony, with asking, for anyone who's new to your story, how would you sum up who you are?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm Bryony. I have trampolined and jumped up and down on a trampoline for almost my entire life. I started when I was 9. I love my sport, which is why I've been stubborn enough to stay in it for so long. I'm now 34. Am I? Yes. I'm now 34. I've gone to 3 Olympic Games, and I've got the full set. I've gone to university, so I wanted to stay in education for as long as I possibly could and love learning. And I'd say, I guess, to summarize myself, I also like to be creative and try out new things. And I also, like to play different sorts of games, so board games, video games, that sort of thing as well. So hang out with friends, and I've got a cat, Grandma Sushi. That's super important too.
Grandma Sushi.
Grandma Sushi. Yeah, I'm a very annoying cat mum. So if he blinks, I'm like, check out my cat. He's amazing. But yeah.
Amazing.
And the name?
So yeah, his name's Grandma Sushi because I wanted to name him after. Yes, I wanted to. So originally we were gonna get a girl cat, but we decided that he was out of the litter. So it came from my partner's mum's cat's litter. We were going to go for the girl cat, but we thought Grandma Sushi was that we gravitated towards, and he was the little boy. But I'd already kind of set my name. I wanted to name him after one of my favorite people in the whole world, my grandma. So, and then Sushi came from, because we got him after Tokyo Olympics. So it's sort of like Japanese food, but also that was on our second date together. Me and my partner, we went for sushi. So, and we both love it. And so we just thought it's quite a nice sounding name too. Yeah.
It works for a cat, I think. It absolutely works for a
Thanks.
cat.
Yeah, he doesn't identify as a grandma nor sushi, so, but it's fine. But I thought it was quite funny because if he does something bad, we're like, Grandma, why did you, say something bad, but like, Grandma, why did you throw up on the floor? Grandma, why did you have to live all the litter tray out? So if he does something naughty, we use Grandma, but generally we just call him Sushi.
Okay. I can imagine the inside joke with that. First of all, I want to touch on the fact that you mentioned that you went to university before we get into the sporting side of your story, which is incredible that you've achieved so much while studying, because so many athletes kind of feel like it's got to be one or the other. There's not many that actually feel that they can do both, which is fantastic. But you wrote your dissertation on dinosaurs, and this is definitely the first thing I want to get into. Where did the interest in dinosaurs come from? What's the source of that?
So first of all, I just want to make a caveat what you said about balancing education and trampolining, because was that very, very stressful and a lot of hard work. But I actually hadn't really got onto I kind of hadn't broken through in trampolining, at least at a senior level, until starting uni. And then I was very lucky with timing because, and the university that I went to, they supported me through my sport. But I also graduated in 2015, so I had a year of full time before my first Olympics. So I was just really fortunate that kind of it all played out in that way. So less credit than you gave. So during my university, it was biology, animal plant science was what my subject. And some of the modules were paleontology. And I just found it really interesting that you could kind of scientists could work out the speed or estimate the speed at which a dinosaur ran just by looking at one fossil, because of where muscle markers were on the bones and all these different things that they could put together and justify kind of their guess or their estimate of the speeds that they ran or what they ate, and looking at different sorts of fossils and comparing them to like living relatives, basically ones that aren't extinct, as well as the family tree. So I just found that really interesting, how you could come up with theories based on so little, like what you're given, just finding one tiny little bone. So I just hoped that when I did my dissertation, you apply for different people who you want, and what subject you want to do. So obviously I applied for the paleontologist, but it's like kind of only one in the department. So it's really difficult to get him. And I didn't get him. I got someone just as amazing, but in a different field. And her field was, what she was studying was like the sounds that, or the acoustic signaling in birds in urban areas versus kind of like rural. So I was like, I really want to do my dissertation on paleontology. And she was like, well, I don't know anything about that, but I do know about this. How about you do the sounds that dinosaurs make? I was like, great, let's do that. So it's like, went into a really niche path. Absolutely loved it. Wrote 10 times more than I should have done my dissertation, and then had to cut it down. And I just got really absorbed into it and just absolutely loved learning about that.
Wow. That is interesting. And I never knew that about you before, actually, Bryony. So I was when we were, chatting and reading up on the outside. Wow, that is cool. I mean, I always knew you had lots of different interests and all sorts of stuff going on, but yeah, that was actually news to me. So that was so cool to find out about. But
thanks.
I kind of wanted to ask from that side about identity, because obviously in your little intro, you mentioned quite a few factors, and so I wondered if, for example, one of the issues a lot of people have, an issue that I had, was my identity being absorbed by diving completely, Freddie the diver, and I wondered if you feel the same thing, or whether you've been able to manage it better by having lots of these different avenues.
Yeah, great question. I guess right now, it is really part of my identity, being a trampolinist and a medalist, and this kind of, I guess, a brand. My brand is through trampolining now, and kind of want to share trampolining as much as possible with people around me. And so it is a huge part of me. It has, it's been part of my identity since I started trampolining, and almost even before, because I did a bit of gymnastics. So, and it kind of naturally grew as part of that as well, stronger links, especially kind of making the decisions to, if, at school, they're like, oh, do you want to do this after school class? Or I tried out for the athletics county team and made it. And I was like, oh no, they clash with my trampolining sessions, and I love trampolining. So it slowly becomes more part of you as you make those decisions. And then after university, becoming a full-time athlete and making that decision to really absorb myself into that. And I was only thinking of doing that for 1 year into the Olympics, and then after the Olympics doing something else, and still doing trampolining, but having a job or apprenticeship or something, maybe further education, and then just decided to stay full-time athlete and part-time everything else. And it just, definitely right now feels so much part of my identity, and I find it difficult to think about post kind of competitive sport, or at least post trampolining. But it's something that I've got amazing support around me, and we've got like a lifestyle advisor at the through the UKSI. So so somebody that can help you. So apply for university or apply for jobs, or kind of help with life and training balance. So we're kind of going through what I can do now to help me transition out of sport in however many years' time.
Whenever that time comes.
Yeah.
But
whenever that time comes. Yeah.
But following up from Freddie's question, like you are the standard bearer for trampolining. You are for our sport, it's actually quite similar, because we've had Tom Daly as the guy that everyone knows. Like, everyone knows that Tom Daly's a diver. They don't know any other divers. And to be honest, I don't know many other trampolinists. I know Bryony Page because of what I've seen with your achievements. And obviously, you speak about trampolining being such a huge part of your identity. Does it feel like a responsibility to stay competing, to make sure that other people get into trampolining, or that you inspire other people? to make sure the sport can continue to grow? Is that something that is within your frame of vision?
Selfishly, no. To be honest, I feel like I've gone to 3 Olympic Games. I could have retired after my first Olympic Games. Like I really felt like I'd achieved what I wanted to achieve, and even more so. But I just continue trampolining because, selfishly, I love it. I love what I do. I love the people that I'm going on this journey with, and so I just want to do that. But whilst I'm in it, and whilst I'm, after I finish competing, I still want to promote the sport and what it is first. So I feel the responsibility to do that. But I also want to. But I'm not continuing competing just to be able to get people involved in the sport. I hope that I'd be able to do that post competition too.
Well, I saw this quote actually, and you can tell me if this is correct or not. But I just absolutely love sport, and I love trampolining. So I'll continue as long as I can. I'll be there as an old lady with a walking stick. I'll be on a trampoline and coaching and getting people involved and hopefully inspiring them. Yeah,
I think that's still true. I don't know when I wrote that, but yeah, it's definitely that. Like I said, I love the feeling of spinning through the air and bouncing up and being thrown back up into the air when she'd like fall down, and just it's such a thrilling sport. And it saddens me that it's not something I'm going to be able to do at that top level for decades to come. Because but I think I don't know about you, but for me, I feel like I'm going to be able to feel like I can do all the skills for the rest of my life. They're ingrained in my brain that if I go, this skill, I can think of it. And I don't know, you've been out of the sport for, what you said, out of at least diving for a year and a half. I feel like if you got on top of the diving board now, you'll know how to do the skill. It's just your body needs that little bit of practice to refine it. So I feel like forever I'll feel like I can do everything. So even when I'm clambering up, like climbing onto the trampoline as an old lady, I'll be like, yes, I can still do triple somersault, but physically I can't. But in my head, I feel like I can. So I think it's something that's even going to stay with me. But I just love it, and I've like been a volunteer / paid coach for like since I was 17, and even before then I was helping out at the club. Wow. Like throwing the mat in, giving your advice to the athletes, trying to chip in, even just as a trampolinist on the side of the trampoline. So you just want to help out your friends, and then it becomes the squad. So, and then reaching out to other clubs and things. So as a mentor, so it's, and other sports even, but within trampoline I just want to be involved as long as possible, and yeah, as myself. I think straight after I retire from trampoline, it's probably coaching. I might not be able to do straight away because I'll just be so jealous of the fact that they're able to jump and I'm like, I can't get on the trampoline and train. So it might take a little bit of a space for a while, just whilst I go through that transition, but it's definitely something I want to be involved with.
Well, I have to say, as a diver, some of the most enjoyable or like most fun we have in training is sometimes on the trampoline. It's like, okay, it's trampoline warm up today. We're like, yes, just let's go.
So true.
Yeah. Although doing stuff to your feet is more scary, so it's like taking like a body landing is much better. It always seems to be on your back.
That's nuts. That's nuts. Yeah, for us it's the well, obviously we avoid landing head first into the trampoline, which is, so for diving you obviously want to land head first into the water. So I understand why you'd want to duck under and go on your back, but going onto your feet, you're used to being upside down going into the landing, so ducking onto your back or going onto your front makes the most sense for that. And for me, the orientation of, if I was just transferred to diving, it would take a long time because I'd end up just wanting to land flat back or belly flop, so or to feet preferably.
Have you ever tried diving? Have you ever done it before?
I have, but not properly. Like, if you want to take me in for a session, I would love that. So I've stood at the top of the I absolutely love it. I stood at the top of the 10-meter board, and it is terrifying. I get flung into the air. We don't have feet to trampoline. It's 10 meters, but we're probably like tickling the feet of a 10-meter board, or the people that are standing on top of it. But yeah, so it's absolutely terrifying to just not know how long that's going to take to hit the water, and trying to make that judgment call right from the top. Whereas with trampolining, you have the time into the top of the bounce, so you know how long that's taken, and you know how long it's going to take to fall back down. But to start at the top, I would not know how to do that. So I think I prefer like the springboard, possibly, or like the 1 meter platform, the 1 foot platform at the edge of the swimming pool. But yeah, I've got like a 1.5. I'd like to get some twists in and have a go from the springboard, but I could only jump in from the 10 meter. I couldn't do a dive because I just didn't know how long it would take me to fall in. So I didn't want to overcook it, like land on my back or
It's so funny you say that, because I feel like it's removing a variable because you're only going down, whereas with trampoline you got to go up then down. Like springboard diving is considered technically harder because you got to work with the springboard. How high you go in the air might change based on the quality of your takeoff, and then you've got to make adjustments whilst you're in the air to then get your entry. Like I think I heard your interview after Paris where you were talking about your routine, and didn't you like change your final skill in the moment?
Yeah.
Because
change your
you
final
didn't
skill.
feel like you were in the right position. Like for us in diving, that's crazy because we have to submit our dives the day before, 24 hours in advance.
Yeah.
And that is our list. We don't change it. We do the dive that we're supposed to do. And if you get a bad takeoff, you either bail out and get a failed dive, or you commit to it and take a hit sometimes. But to first of all, like to change your skill like mid-routine, that's amazing presence of mind. And then also to be able to actually execute it. I presume it was an easier skill, so something you feel a bit more comfortable with. But to be able to execute it and that be enough to win a gold medal is beyond my mind.
Thanks, but again, you're giving me too much credit. I guess like with trampolining, it's something that we learn. And to be fair, I think I'm better at doing it because I was so rubbish. Like as a junior, I had to make changes to my routine all the time and change what I was doing because I'd make a mistake, and then you just have to adapt. So because of being like not as good, I had to learn that skill quite fast and became more adaptive in that space because I wasn't good enough to do the routine that I'd planned every time. So I learned that skill. But I think a lot of people, it's just one of those things like trampolinists, it's a skill that you learn and it just naturally builds. And we don't normally make the change mid-skill. So if I took off for a harder skill, I'd probably commit to it. Like you said, if it was in diving, you take off it badly, you still commit to the skill. So the decision to change my skill came earlier in the routine, and then just before takeoff, I've made that commitment to do a certain skill. It's rare that I change what skill I'm doing in the air once I've taken off. Sometimes you have to, if you've done a really bad skill, you have to like bail out or reduce the twist, or sometimes add more twists just to help you get some more somersault going in. But most of the time you've made that decision early on and you're not actually changing it. But to make that, I guess the skill is making the decision whilst you're thinking about other things and thinking about the skill that you're doing. You're still thinking about slightly ahead of what you're going to do. So, and I only learned that because I was, not as good. Yeah.
No, that honestly, actually, that's really, I actually want to discuss that a little bit because as Yona's saying, for us, that's just mind boggling. But I mean, quickly, just, I agree with you in terms of like the mid-air changes. That makes sense to me because there's a handful of times that I tried a mid-air change and they all ended disastrously.
Yeah, they're difficult.
They're
not fun either. It's when you see the ceiling when you're meant to see the trampoline, you're like,
oh my god,
no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst feeling. It's not ideal. The diving.
Your heart when it drops. Worst. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Well, I actually think that's where, for me, that's where diving fear really comes from. I've changed my question here already, but I think that's an interesting point. No, it's great because I used to think about this a lot. Fear in diving. I was like, why am I so afraid? Because most of the consequences, I know I can. Well, everything I know I can take. I mean, the really worst case, if you hit your head on the board, that's pretty ropey. But still, on springboard, you're going to come away from that okay. Most likely, you'll just be shaken up. But any kind of, and that's so rare. But any kind of other wipeout, it's going to hurt. But I felt that I can take it. So why am I so afraid? And it's almost like the fear is. I kind of came to, is it the fear of the unknown that is so scary, and like that feeling of being lost and not knowing where you are is terrifying. So is it like because you don't know where you are, that unknown is what amplifies the fear, or?
Oh, I 100% agree that for me, the fear comes from, not knowing what's going to happen. So if I'm scared of a skill, it's normally because it's slightly new. So I'm like, is my body going to be able to do what I want it to do? What happens if I twist too soon? Am I still going to be able to commit to the next difficult technical part, which is, the scary bit. So, or if it's less of a technical skill, more of a power skill, what if one of my legs gives way on takeoff, which sometimes happens? Do I commit to the full extra somersault, or am I gonna, just bail out and go to my back? Like what's my body gonna do in this? What decision am I gonna make? And that's where the fear comes from, because it is terrifying when you lose yourself in the air. But most, our bodies are, especially after, for me, 25 years of training, my body has this spatial awareness to kind of take over when I get lost. My body kind of has this innate feeling of knowing if it's upside down, not upside down, that sort of thing. But also vision wise, you're trying to spot where you can see and know when to duck under and things to make sure you land safely. But yeah, you don't know, because it's innate and it's not planned. It is that fear of what happens, and what's your body going to do in that sense. So I went through that to the point where I wouldn't even take off for a skill, so I was so scared. But you go through that, and people say, how do you do? Are you not scared? I'm like, I'm scared almost every single session. Like there's always an element of fear, whether it's a fear of failing and not making the routine because you've got a competition coming up and what that means, or whether it's a fear of an actual skill of, what's going to happen, or that's just that fear of I'm doing something that's really unnatural and stupid. Like, why am I putting myself through this? I don't have to do it. But like there's, you just learn how to deal with that fear, don't you? You're like, but it feels fun and I want to try and achieve this next skill, and it's thrilling, and to improve and push my, glass ceiling, I need to try and do this skill, and I want to see if I can do it, and it feels fun. So you have to push through that fear all the time. And I guess when I was younger, I was not brave because I was fearless, and now I'd say got quite a lot of bravery because I'm scared all the time.
It's interesting how you put when you were younger, you weren't brave because you were fearless. That's like an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I just had no.
Yeah.
You didn't really think. You don't think about it. You're just like, this is fun. I'm going to do this, and you're not scared of it because you're like, you haven't seen what could go wrong, but also like you haven't experienced that either. Most of the time, you haven't experienced that, like feeling lost in the air and how your heart sinks, and you're like, right, I need to find the trampoline. I need to find a safe way of landing, and the panic that ensues. But it's just a part of this sport. I assume like people in other sports get fear, and it kind of displays in different ways. But for us, it's just, I guess the stakes are a little bit higher in that. For running, I don't think you lose where the track is. You might be scared of pushing yourself too hard and picking up an injury. For us, it's, a runner's not going to have that feeling of getting lost in their air. And they won't know what that feels like. And people that aren't in like aerial sports won't have that understanding, but you can maybe imagine it. What it feels like to not know where you are in space and time. But yeah, it's difficult to explain how that feels, really. But you're just like floating in space, aren't you? You're floating in space and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? I don't know where I am. And our bodies just take over. Yeah, our bodies take over. Our minds switch on really quickly. It's that fight or flight, and and it happens a lot, and we know how to deal with it. Even if we don't think we do, most of the time, our bodies do. So it's I guess the more you do it safely, the less scared you get of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, speaking of your younger self kind of going through those situations where you maybe didn't take off on the skill, it's something that's very difficult. And it's something that happens a lot in diving. You get young athletes who become scared of skills, and then it's a bit of a kind of fork in the road. Like you either get over it and you then progress, or it becomes this massive roadblock and you don't progress. But what's really important in that time is your mentor and your coach and the person you have guiding you and helping you through that. You've spoken a lot about how you help anyone and everyone that you see around training, acting as a mentor. But who was some of the most important mentors for you kind of growing up? Who got you through those phases? And what kind of values did they transfer to you that you've carried on throughout your career?
Great question. And it's great that I can mention people and how they've helped me. So, of course, my parents, for people that weren't in aerial sports, my dad prefers like football and table tennis, that sort of thing, rather than, he did try a little bit trampolining too. But yeah, so for someone that doesn't kind of understand that mental block, my parents were like very supportive. They obviously were kind of people to talk to about what I was going through. But they were also, they're not pushy parents, they're supportive. They said, I don't want to see you upset. So like, if you want to stop training, like we're not forcing you to go training. If you want to stop training, you're not letting us down. Like, we want to support you through not giving up, but they didn't say those words. But if you want to stop training, like, and trampolining, we'll support you through that. And if you want to keep going, we'll support you through that too. So having that on my like conscience, I guess, to know that, I had complete choice of whether I continued and tried to go through it to every single training session, knowing that you're going to have a struggle and it's going to be difficult and it's going to be painful and like mentally and emotionally painful. And that you're going to be scared to like the absolute fear. Like, it's to push yourself through that. It's difficult. So the fact that they were supporting me, whatever decision I made, it was great to know that. And just to be a shoulder to cry on when things were going, not the way I wanted to. My trampoline coach at the time as well was really supportive too. He was really patient. It's like, when I look back on it, I'm like, how is he so patient about, I'm not training, like I'm wasting everyone's time. I'm jumping on a trampoline, not taking off and doing anything. There's nothing to coach. Like, I literally straight jumping, stop, and then cry and get off the trampoline. Like, I was really annoyed. So he's really patient and trying to kind of lower the expectations I put on myself throughout the training session, and to, praise when I did something, finally, when I actually got something to do, and just, be there for when I didn't. But he also found a confidence coach to talk to, because it was just, he knew that he couldn't help me the way that he wanted to. And so he found someone that could, because we tried so many different things and it just wasn't improving. And so he found somebody that because he identified it as a confidence issue, because a lot of people call it like lost move syndrome. You don't like lose your skills. I could still feel them. I just lost my confidence in being able to do them. So it's like that mental block. So he found his confidence coach and spoke with them and kind of identified kind of what had gone wrong and what the issues were and how I could deal with them, and how I could deal with the anxiety of going into training and lower those like emotional responses to when things weren't going right, and how to focus my mind in the way. And I think during that time, like understanding that, because I always felt like this lost mood syndrome was some like a disease, almost like a virus. It was contagious.
Yeah.
If somebody had it, it would pass on to you, and and you get stuck with it, and it's something that just happens, and you don't know how to. It's like a phantom, but actually, it's my own brain making those decisions. Whether I like it or not, my own brain is making them. It doesn't feel like it's me conscious, but my brain is doing it. So if my brain is making those decisions, maybe there's a way to rewire that and have a stronger part of my brain that can change it. So like understanding that and going through that process. I also had like one of my teachers at the sixth form college I went to as well, the PE teacher and tutor eventually. She was really supportive of my trampolining, and I remember like a few times just chatting with her about what was going on. And she, again, just she obviously studied sports at a high level, so she kind of understood that sports psychology around it as well. So she was just supportive too. So just having that kind of support network, as well as an expert in like sports psychology, and well, it wasn't even sports psychology, psychology in general. He worked with lots of different people within sport and outside of sport about confidence. So having that helped me to kind of overcome it very, very slowly.
You think that must have, from the confidence working through such a huge thing like that. I mean, it is, we experience similar things in diving, and it is hard to explain really what that feels like, but it's so true. I cannot do this, and it's incredibly difficult. And so, but having felt that, and then brought someone in who's developed this process with you, and then worked through it and overcome that. I mean, that to me seems like a huge unlock for life, because I think there are a few things that are actually as difficult as feeling like that level of fear, because the physical danger and all the things. It's so intense. I think in these kind of aerial sports, that must give you confidence, but also you've learned this process that you can maybe apply to other things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, like it came to a point where I wasn't just scared of the skill and what might go wrong. I was scared of so my fear kind of showed itself in the way of not taking off the skills. So I'd start jumping, and then instead of taking off, my body would just shut down and stop the trampoline without me kind of realizing what was happening. And I became scared of that motion. I became scared of being scared. Because every time your body or part of your mind takes over without your consciousness, and you stop, it's such a horrible feeling, and you feel like a failure, and it feels embarrassing. You've made this mistake, that you've failed at attempting to take off of something that you want to do, and I think it's not just being fear of the skill, but having that fear of failing and letting yourself down. So to kind of go through that, you can definitely apply that to other points in your life, because you realize that every time you try and fail, well, not fail, but every time you try and you don't get the outcome that you want, that you're getting closer to that achieving it. So you're learning what went wrong as well as what goes right, and how to deal with that. And you're learning how to deal with disappointment. You're learning how to deal with difficult emotions. And so it doesn't just apply to that sport, because you're dealing with fear of things that you can apply in other parts of your life, not just trampolining. And also being able to overcome it gave me that confidence and not just overcome it once, it comes back, and you have to overcome it again and again, to know that you can overcome what is like a really difficult challenge, and kind of your worst fear of it returning as well. Knowing that you can overcome that gives you confidence that, okay, well, if there's an injury in sport, I know that I've got the resilience to be able to deal with that time and come back stronger. If it comes back again, I know I've got the strength to do it again. If something crops up in my life, it gives you that confidence that if you've dealt with what you think is kind of one of the most difficult things to go through in our sport, then you can deal with other things. And that has come up quite a lot of times to know is part of my toolbox for trampolining and for life.
And then you obviously achieved what you did in Rio in 2016. You won that silver medal, and I think it's right in saying that was a huge confidence builder for you as well. Obviously, coming into your first Olympics, winning a medal, maybe with someone who had some doubts around those sorts of things. And in that moment, did your sense of value to you and as an athlete, did that shift?
So for me, that happened before the Olympics, and before I even knew I was going to be selected to the Olympics. So my build up to, so I missed out on London Olympics. I actually trialed for Beijing, but there was no chance I was going to make it unless 8 people decided to quit trampolining. There was no, even more. I just did it because I wanted to know how the qualification event kind of worked. So I was part of that Olympic cycle. But yeah, for me, in 2010, I finished 4th in the world at my first World Championships. And so that's when I kind of thought the Olympics can be an achievable goal. It's not just a dream anymore. It can really happen. So that's what I felt like my potential was. And missing out on London was really, really tough for me. So I was hoping I would have done better in the trials and the process, and just things didn't quite work out. So for the Rio Olympic cycle, I was both scared of not making the team, but also really wanting to. And so I had those positive and negative motivators. One of how amazing would it be if I became Olympian, but also the negative of I don't want to miss out again. But that negative became so strong for me that it started playing on my mind in competitions. And instead of focusing on like trampolining and how to do the best I could, it was like, I'm going to miss out on the games again. I'm going to miss out. I'm never going to become Olympian. I'm going to not achieve my potential. I'm going to have so much regret, like all these different things. And I basically forgot how to compete, like, because I was focused on all the wrong things. So yeah, and I had a bit of a tough build up into that Olympic Games as well, with like injuries and I guess bereavements and things. So it was a difficult time of my life, not just within trampolining, but outside. And just trampolining was just going absolutely like the competition. So we'd qualified a place in 2015 World Championships. So we knew we had 2 spaces, but there was basically like 3 of us going for 2 spaces. So I knew that I was going to be close no matter what. And it just like really played on mind. Forgot to competed really poorly, felt like it was slipping away. And it was at European. So it's kind of, I guess, Easter time. So it's still relatively close to the Olympics, but we didn't know who was going to be selected until like 6 weeks before the game. So we had still a time. But Europeans like felt really, really low. Like I didn't perform well in the individual event. My uncle has actually passed away whilst we were out there. We were hoping to visit him when we got back, but didn't manage that. So like feeling a bit guilty, or quite a lot guilty. And he was really supportive of sport too. So it just, was not a nice competition to be at. And I actually like, even though I messed up my individual event, in the team event, I hit the top score that the female got all through the competition. And I was like, why can I not deliver when it counts and just but I knew that I had the potential in me. So I had all these things going on. I was talking to my coach. I was just like, look, I'm really like, I don't know if it's worth it. Like, I'm really miserable training and pushing myself to my absolute limits in every aspect I can think of. Like, at times when I want to be with my family and friends to kind of grieve and go through things that had happened earlier in the year, and pushing myself in training. I'm giving everything and it's not working. Like, what's the point? I just feel really miserable. And that was kind of the turning point for me, because it wasn't like, should I give up? Is it worth it? It was like, well, actually, I know I want to keep going. Like, I've got to make this time worth it. I've got to find a way to do this. So I forgot the original question. I've just gone off on a tangent. So help me guide me. But I just found like it was I know. So it's a difficult time. So this, and I remember, because of that, and like saying, how do I make this time worth it no matter what, whether I make it to the Olympics or not. That's where started looking into that mindset change, and what can I do to make this time more worthwhile, and to make it true to my values. So making that mindset shift allowed me to value myself more as I worked through it. So I became more proud of my efforts than the outcomes, and I became proud of who I was more than what people perceived me as in my sport. And I kind of, my actual next competition, after feeling like way more confident, my training, feeling much more happier in myself, being able to value myself, and I was like, I'm absolutely going to nail this. Like, I know what I'm doing. My training's picking up. Like, and I actually messed up the next competition. I was like, what? Why? My mindset's changed. I'm feeling super confident. I know what I'm doing in the competition. So it's like, why does this keep happening? But like, I just kept going with the process, and it was. I started to value, like, and understand as well that that mistake I could learn so much more from. So it was like I wasn't as worried about making mistakes, because I knew I would learn more from them than if I didn't make a mistake and just succeeded. So I valued that and feared it less. So it allowed me, and that not just in competing, but in training too. So we'll get to my point, I promise. So I started to value myself more. And I knew that, actually, I'm so glad I wrote it down in my diary. The day before we were going to be, and the morning of as well, that we were going to be told about the selection for the Rio Olympics, was that I basically kind of said, like, no matter if I make it onto the team or not, like, these next 6 weeks, I'm going to, absolutely train the best I possibly can, so that I can be the best version of myself and I can achieve what I want to in trampolining, which essentially is feeling that amazing routine that I've been training for. And I'm going to dedicate that, and I'm going to train hard and be the person I want to be. And so I knew that if I wasn't selected for my dream of going to the Olympics, that I was still so proud of myself, and that the journey was so worth it, even if I didn't make it. So that's kind of it. It came before even being selected to the Olympics. And then I guess at the Olympics, I'd been holding so many emotions in for so long. When I finished competing, not only had I in the final competed the best routine and exactly what I wanted to compete in that moment, like everything came together. It was that emotion of happiness, but also just a relief of letting everything go, and all that kind of worry and tension and pride of competing and excitement. I didn't have to focus anymore. I could just let go of all of the emotions and then just feel everything I wanted, everything I had been holding in for so long. So that's probably like why it was, for me, I'd competed, before I'd seen my results, had already started crying. Like I could just release everything, and just really feel that pride too. I got there eventually. Sorry.
That was great.
No,
that was great.
It's such a remarkable story, and you can't keep saying that I'm giving you too much credit when I say things, because that story sums it up. Like, that's an amazing story. That's a whole career's worth of emotions in such a short period of time, which is extremely overwhelming. You've gone through, the depth of how low you can get weeks before this qualification event, but then you sum it up really nicely in that it was just about actually just making yourself feel proud, which I massively respect, and it's absolutely phenomenal, because I felt a similar thing going into Paris. I've been through a knee injury. I got to the qualification event, and the effort that I put in before the qualification event, I genuinely didn't actually. I obviously cared, but like, I wasn't bothered whether I qualified or not, because I knew that I'd done everything I could possibly do to get myself in a good situation.
Yeah.
And what you've described there is incredible, and it makes total sense as to why you said earlier that you could have retired after Rio, because you've gone through so much and you've achieved everything you set out to achieve in that one moment. Like, it could have been very easy to say, thank you, that's it, like, let's move on. I've ticked that box. I've come back from something very, very difficult and had immense success. But you didn't do that. You went on to Tokyo, and I mean, I'm sure the pandemic would have thrown up an incredible journey and story there. You've gone through to Paris and won an incredible gold medal. What's now the value of you pushing on for another cycle? I mean, I think you've spoken about the transition out of sport, but going through those emotions again, not feeling good. We're in an acrobatic sport where sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and it's hard. Like, I'd step away from after Paris, because I was like, yeah, I'm all right. I've ticked all the boxes. I don't want to go again. Like, I don't need to. I don't need any more validation. But you're choosing to do that, which is really admirable. What's the value for you going for another Olympic cycle?
Thank you. Yeah, I think, like, after Paris, I did think about exploring different options. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go for another Olympic cycle or not. Whereas, like, after Rio, I basically said, I'm not going through what I'd gone through again. I would put up with it. But I didn't want the journey to be like the way that it was going into that competition. So I was changing my approach a little bit, and also had achieved my potential. So I kind of lost that negative driver, which was really difficult in itself to deal with, because when you're scared of regretting giving up or not making something, it gives you a hell of a lot of motivation. So when you lose that, you're like, whoa, I have the choice of not doing it now, but I still choose to do it. So I kind of have that at a different level. Like, I literally, I dreamt of becoming an Olympic champion and going into Tokyo Olympics and didn't quite manage it, and then dreamt of it going into the Paris Olympics and didn't expect it to happen at all. But it did, and now I've achieved so much more than I ever thought was possible in trampolining, and have won what, in terms of outcomes, what I've dreamt of for a long time, and can't do much more, like world champion and Olympic champion, European. So, like, I've ticked all of those sorts of boxes. So I really don't have any reason to to continue to achieve, other than just what I actually feel like I can do more not in outcome, but in routine and skills. And I just love it. Like, I love competing most of the time. I love training. For me, like, I love training. I love like pushing myself and trying to achieve that next thing. And I don't feel like I've yet hit that ceiling. Like, I'm really painfully close, and I know that. Like, I was earlier this year, me trying to learn some new skills and it not quite going to plan, kind of realizing my limitations, but wanting to try and push through that and be like, okay, this skill hasn't come easy to me. How do I make it work, and how do I find a way to be able to do it? That sort of thing. Like, I want to. There's a few things I want to tick off my bucket list of trampolining, I guess. Like, there's some skills that I've been able to do for years and years and years, and I've never competed them. And there's skills that I wanted to learn how to do, but I've never really had the opportunity because of competing and also not been strong enough. So it's like, what can I do to achieve those? So for me, it's just want to continue doing something that I love to do and I can do, but I can't do in 15 years time. So I want to do it now. And I'd like to be able to finish trampolining and saying I gave everything to try and see how good I can get. And I feel like this is a skill-based difficulty side of things, and explore, be creative in what I'm doing, and just show myself and the trampoline world kind of what might be possible. But of course, other people are doing that as well. So still want to stay competitive. But yeah, I've got a few more things that I want to try, and not quite ready to leave the sport. I had the option of doing that after Paris, with other opportunities that came my way. Like with Cirque, for example, that definitely was an option I could explore, Cirque du Soleil. But ultimately I was like, no, I want to continue trampolining just a little bit more, be competitive, and see where I can get whilst I can.
I'd love to touch on Cirque a little bit more later. I'm sure Freddie wants to talk about that as well. But I just want to first go to, if presuming everything goes to plan over the next 3 years, to LA 2028, you make the team, you go to the Olympics. The maybe the storyline would be Bryony Page is back to defend her Olympic title. But based on what you're saying, that might not necessarily be the purpose of you going there. So in LA, what would excellence look like for you?
It would definitely be trying to defend my title. That would be amazing if I could have if I felt the potential to do that. That would be fantastic. And I know that my support team, that's what we're aiming for, and that's what we're going to train towards. And they believe it can happen. For me, the belief isn't as strong as my support team, but it never has been. I didn't go into Paris Olympics believing that I could become Olympic champion strongly. I actually was lowering my expectations quite considerably in the build-up, because I didn't feel like it was as possible as I once thought it was. But my support team have kind of always had that belief in me, and that will help me. So it's not anything new that I'm having those thoughts at the moment. But I also know there's a possibility. But excellence for me would be, one, making a 4th Olympic Games in a gymnastics discipline. I want to show people that, like, people have done it before, definitely, and have gone for more. But I want to continue showing that it's possible. I love representing Team GB and competing and being part of Olympic Games, and the atmosphere and everything that comes with it, meeting other athletes and supporting the team, and just it's so exciting. So I would love to experience that. And enjoy it. And I wanted to compete this in Paris, but I wasn't able to because of being slightly injured and my training not going to plan. And so I'd like to be able to do a more difficult routine at the Olympics. So I was in the World Championships 2023, the year before the Olympics. I was competing my 3-triff routine. So triple. It's basically the routine. A trampoline routine is 10 skills long. If you're not sure of trampolining, but the first 3 skills are triple somersaults. In women, there's only a handful of women that are have ever competed that. Now there's it's becoming a bit more common, but still only a handful of people and maybe only one or two in one competition. But I think in 3 years' time that's going to change and there'll be a few more you'll see. But that for me was such a big achievement. I'd wanted to do for like 15 years since being able to do it as a youngster in training. I wanted to compete internationally and finally managed to do it 2023. So that was my dream of competing at Paris Olympics. I wasn't able to do that, and not a woman hasn't competed that a 3-2 routine at Olympics yet. And I expect quite a few might try it at the next one. So I would like to be one of those. That's a target that I didn't manage to tick off at the last Olympics. So it's a driving force for this one. But yeah, there's excellence is just trying to be the best that you can be going into any competition, and the Olympics is no different. You want to try and peak for it. You want to try and train really, put yourself, 100% into effort every single training session, every single day, be the best you could be, go and compete and, enjoy it and hope it goes the best it can.
Well, one thing that shines through for me a lot is how a lot of your goals now, or even since the beginning, really, it's all been internal, and I think that's super powerful. But I just wanted to say as well, from an excellence point of view, till now it's 3 Olympic Games, 3 medals. I mean that is excellent in achievement, but it's excellent in consistency of delivery on the most important stage. And that is something that is really impressive to me, because anything can happen at an Olympic Games, and it's the stress levels there. So the fact that you've delivered it all 3 under the stress you had in Rio and everything else, what do you think was what got you through that? What was that superpower that allowed you to deliver?
Just pure luck. No. I do, it's one of those things that so many people wish me good luck and it just happened. I think it's, I think going into Olympic Games, it feels a little bit different because, you've been waiting for, especially your first Olympics, you've been waiting your entire sporting career or whatever when you decided that the Olympics was a target. And then for the next one, it's 4 years on top of everything else of your years of training before those. So you want to make them count. You have a little bit more focus. For me, I love the crowd. Tokyo was really difficult not having one. But for Rio and Paris, the crowd is phenomenal, and I love that experience, and that helps me. I feel like I'm a performer. I like seeing a competition as a performance as well as competing against your competitors and competing for the judges' scores and the results. But I like to see it as a performance, and I want to show off what I've been training. So when there's a crowd, it just elevates me a little bit more. And I'm just a bit, I guess, focused for that. And I've had hopefully focused training for some build up into that competition. I think Tokyo was really weird because it was the first time we'd competed in like a year. That is not Olympic prep, why don't we not compete for a whole year and then compete at an Olympics? So, but I think you're training for something that means a lot to you, and you're part of a bigger team, and you're part of you're part of something that's bigger than your own sport. So there's a higher level of importance to you as well. So I think because we're prepping for that, every competition, including World Championships, was really important. You're trying to learn from every single competition and then learn what works, what doesn't work, be creative and see what you can explore the routine wise, and all for this one competition in 4 years. So right now I'm thinking, I've got a competition next week and the following week. I'm thinking how that is going to help me the following few years in the build up to the game. So we've got 2 competitions in a row. We don't normally do that. We normally at least have a week between because we plan that. We know that next, the Olympic qualifying year might have 2 competitions in a row. So I'm saying, okay, these competitions, obviously I want to try and do my best, but I need to take note of what I need to do for the next time that this happens, because it will be because of, it's part of the Olympic qualifying process. So everything you're training for seems to be leading to this one competition. So you've learned a lot over 4 years, and you're trying to put everything you've learned into this one. You obviously want to learn from it as well, but it's a little bit more directed to that competition. So it's peaking for that, which adds more pressure as well. But some, maybe I thrive under pressure, who knows? But I just, for me, it's the training that helps you in those circumstances. And I've trained for a long time, and I've trained through so many mistakes and failure, what people consider as failures. I'm like, as long as you learn from them, they're not a failure. But I've learned from so many mistakes because I'm, consistently made them. And now trying to learn from even little mistakes in a competition, or how can things be improved, for the next one. So it just, I guess your training supports it, and it falls into place, and you make it fall into place, I guess. But the Olympics just feels slightly different, even though in the competition you're still doing the same thing.
I think you're right in that you almost. Well, I was going to say, I think you're right in that you kind of make it fall into place, and you create that look. You make that happen, and then it somehow helps you to deal with the pressure better. But what you also said about the fact that you see competition more as a performance than an actual competition sometimes, that probably helps you deal with it better, because you are just performing, you're expressing yourself. And that makes sense as to why you wanted to go down the Cirque du Soleil path. So tell us a little bit more about that experience, and what drew you into it, and what you got out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of learned about Cirque du Soleil really early on in my trampolining, because our Olympian from 2000, which was when the trampolining had been introduced into the Olympics. So I was old enough so I was 9 when I was watched the Olympics and trampolining first being, and I also started trampolining when I was 9. So right from when I started trampolining, was in the Olympics, and our first Olympian, Lee Brearley, went off to go to Cirque afterwards. And then actually our 2004 Olympian also did the similar thing. So, or the same thing. So I learned what Cirque du Soleil was really early on, and I watched some of the shows, and I just thought, what phenomenal athletes, what an amazing show, how beautiful this is. It's super creative. Like I said at the start of the podcast, I feel one of my traits is creativity, and I always try and be creative in some way. So it just, played with that, and performing. Even if there's some people watching training, I want to step up what I'm doing on the trampoline to show what trampoline is about, what I've been training and what I've been doing. And what better way to express yourself where it's not competition, it's just performance, and it's using trampolining in a different way and being part of a team in a different way. And it's something that I've dreamt of since I first saw it. Like when I finished trampolining, when I've gone to the Olympics, I'm going to go and try and make Cirque du Soleil. I just didn't know, I didn't really expect to continue trampolining for so long. I actually had a conversation with the talent scout for Cirque back in 2020, actually way back in 2011, but properly at 2022. And I was like, it's really something, do you think you can help me get onto a show? And he was like, well, yeah, definitely, they would want you. Like you've by this point you've won 2 Olympic medals, of course they'll want you. Like but I was like, you should, and so when are you thinking of retiring? That's the question. I was like, well, maybe Paris, maybe LA, maybe Brisbane, and just like kind of laughing. It's like, well, at some point you're going to have to retire and switch over to be to perform. And so I just didn't really expect to continue and love trampolining and competing for so long. But so it's something that I explored after Paris Olympics, and it's something I still hope to explore, actually. Saying that, so one thing that I learned from my experience with Cirque, they did invite me to train with them and train towards a show, and lots of different, I had amazing experience with them, and I absolutely loved it. But knowing that I might only have a short time left of being able to compete at the high level that I'm competing at, whilst I'm still young, it's not said very often, but what Cirque did give me was like, I saw people performing, and I got to meet the athletes and the performers, and a lot of them were older than me. And we've been told in elite sport, whether it's the media or support team, in the like nicest possible way of like you're the older athlete, we've got to take care of your body, you've got to do this. And sometimes, especially in media, you might feel a little bit limited, or that you're doing something that's shouldn't be possible, but something that still kind of surprises people sometimes. But meeting these athletes that are older than me, and like, they're doing 2, if not 3 shows a day. They're training alongside that. They're doing this 6 times a week. Like, they're doing so much training, and they're putting their bodies through so much. And they're, a few years older, if not 10 years older, if not more, and they're still doing it. They've done this for their lives. And I felt like it felt less of a limitation going for another Olympic Games, just kind of understanding that. And also it felt like because of them being older, it felt like I had another opportunity in 4 years' time to try out again for Cirque du Soleil. So I hope that they would still consider me. And it's something I still would love to do, definitely. It just didn't feel like the right time.
Yeah. Well, you did touch on a few things that I've come to learn through having my time in shows, and I think it sounds to me like a kind of perfect combination for you, because you've seen that things are that when you go into shows, the pressure, it all changes, your mindset shifts. And so you've had a bit of a taste of that, and then you can bring that back to competition. Because one thing I thought is, why did I take this so seriously? Yeah. And why did I not view this as more of a show? Because that really helped me, and the creative side that I started to engage with in the shows was a huge boost for me as well. But obviously you've had a taste of that. You've sort of learned that lesson, and I think a lot of the things you've been doing in life have been very creative as well. So I can see why, where there is more of a time restriction and an age restriction in place on the competition, that does make sense to me. But actually, as my final question for this section, Bryony, I actually just wanted to ask if there's anything that you wished we would have asked you so far today.
No, not at all. I'm enjoying the conversation, or at least I enjoy talking about myself. No, you feel like you want to ask anything. I'm hopefully feel comfortable to ask it. So no, I haven't feel like, you're on board. Everything is fine. Don't worry. I haven't gone, oh my God, why didn't they ask me this question about when I was 6 years old and I felt like no, there's nothing. So don't worry.
Well, there's so much to, I feel like there's so much to uncover from you, Bryony, and so much to potentially talk about. And obviously we have our little bonus section anyway at the end where we'll touch on a few more things. So I'll ask this then. Beyond trampolining, beyond medals, beyond all of that, what have you come to realize is your true value?
What is my true value?
Yeah. What do you feel like?
Yeah. So I actually have like a list. I have a top 10 values that I live by. And if I have to make a difficult decision, I go back to this list and try and see which ones hit the most, but also they're in sort of a priority order. But I think I guess in this context, the biggest takeaway is like self-growth over achievements. So prioritizing self-growth and understanding that if I follow that value, it means so much more to me than achieving something, which is difficult to say on the other side of achieving the things that I set my mind to sometimes. But self-growth, I really, really highly value. Friends and family and happiness are my top 3. So it's not worth it if if focusing on self-growth and you're focusing on achievements, it's not worth it if you don't have your friends and family to celebrate with and to thank them and and help them through things and enjoy time together. So it's my top values. I think it's really important to be grateful for what you do, learn from everything, and enjoy your time with the people around you. I think if you hit those 3 things, then you're in for a winner.
Amazing.
Well, I want to say, actually, I did a similar exercise relatively recently, and that's something I encourage everyone to do. Get a pen and paper out, and maybe even get a list online of like every single value possible, and look at them and pick out the ones you like, and then maybe even stack them against each other, which come out on top. And after all of that, for me, what came out on top was happiness, kindness, and continual improvement. So
yeah, very similar.
relatively aligned there. So that was
Yeah,
really nice.
the kind I kind of put. So we had a deck, like loads of different cards, and I kind of put them all down and see which ones resonated, which ones didn't, and then couldn't make up my mind. So like and within my top 10, I've also got as 1 point is like kindness, integrity, loyalty, like all in one. I'm like, I feel like they kind of, it kind of works as one. So yeah, same sort of thing. But mainly like that. If there was a value for like being indecisive, I'm like, that is so me. Like I'm so bad at making decisions. But what the other one is, I've got efficiency. Yeah, I've got efficiency as one. So I found that really funny that I was super inefficient with deciding on what my values were, and that I put like more into one, like 3 into 1. I was like, yeah, I'm super efficient. Yeah, sure. But yeah, so I would also agree with you that people should do this. Like for me, that I did this exercise of the year of the Rio Olympics, and it was after I changed my mindset about trying to make the time worthwhile, not just is it worth it. It's like, how do you make it worth it? It was like, okay, well, I actually read a book about this, the values idea. So I was like, I really wanted to explore that, and I found ways to just not just find out what your values are, but how you can implement into your life and into my training. So like working out, where can I spend more time with friends and families? Like, so a lot of the time, I was away at camp, so it'd be like the drive, or a lot of the things that I did for that came into handy during lockdown. And I was like, this is what it feels like sometimes to be at camp. Like, it can feel really isolating sometimes, but I learned loads of tools on how to stay connected with people during that time. So yeah, like, how do I stay connected with my friends and family during this time? How can I do things that, I enjoy? And actually I was like, oh my God, I love trampolining. Why am I not focusing on the feeling of spinning and being happy that I'm able to do that? So that played a huge part. And then self-growth of like, well, how do I make the mistakes from what happened before in that training? Like, how do I learn from it and self-grow? And like, it's just like, how do I find humor in day-to-day basis? It's like, oh, I hang around with this person that makes me laugh. Like, it's all those different things of like how, not just what your values are, but how can you really implement them into your daily life, and or on a weekly basis. So yeah, I tried to work that out as well.
Absolutely. It's all the little decisions that contribute to the big picture, right? And I think that's an amazingly powerful point to wrap our episode on. So Bryony, thank you very much. We appreciate your time and appreciate your stories, your candor. It's been fantastic. Where can people find you online?
I'm just I'm on Instagram and mainly. I also have a TikTok, but it's not super active. I'm just I think I'm Bryony _Page or Bryony1, something like this, on different platforms. So just search my name. I've got a little blue tick next to me, so it's me. And yeah, if you can, I'm more active on Instagram. So if you want to follow me and support me through my journey, or learn more about things, or tell me what you want me to post, please get in touch.
Yeah, and you'll definitely know which one is Bryony's page, because her bio is such a flex. It's like current Olympic, world, European and British champion and Olympic silver and bronze medalist, just to top it off. Like, wow, it's unreal.
Insane.
Thanks.
Insane. Yeah, such a privilege for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nick.
Guys,
thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bryony. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. That's where we'll end. But if you're watching on Patreon, Bryony's going to be sticking around with us for a little bit longer to do one more dive. If you're not there yet, the link is in the show notes. So we will see you soon.
And